Today, I love Denis Martindale. He has written over 3,700 poems for the Poem Hunter website. Denis Martindale has written a new poem titled A Leopard in a Tree, and here's what the poem's message shares with us today. We're exploring the divine artistry of the leopard in the tree.
You know, Martindale's work is just incredible at bridging that gap between sharp, keen observation and really evocative verse. Today, we're setting off on a vibrant, artistic journey straight into the wild. We're going to examine how a single, stunning moment in nature is caught through a camera lens, completely transformed onto a painter's canvas, and then finally immortalized in a poem. It's a truly fascinating look at how inspiration travels so seamlessly across totally different mediums.
I really want you to take a second and process that figure, 3,700. It's actually hard to wrap your head around. Denis Martindale has this astonishing level of dedication to his craft. Producing over 3,700 poems demonstrates an incredibly prolific output. It shows us a writer who is literally always observing, constantly reflecting, and finding all these new sources of inspiration in the world around him to share with his readers.
Section 1. The Leopard's Peaceful Pause.
Let's just slow down for a sec to really appreciate the rhythm and the imagery of this opening stanza. Martindale writes, "Legs dangling as it stretched flat out, with nothing much more done, as if no cause to run about, while basking in the sun." I mean, this brilliantly illustrates a leopard that is completely, blissfully unaware of the camera. The observer has somehow managed to get close without disturbing the piece, and the big cat is just comfortably resting in the branches, soaking up all that warmth. But, as we know, nature is incredibly complex, and that inherent tension, it's captured perfectly right here. The poem notes, "Wildcats have raised lips when they smile, while stretching peacefully." So the crucial point we're getting at is the deceptive safety of the wild. The leopard looks like it's smiling, right? It looks completely serene, kind of tricking the observer into thinking the ground below is totally safe. Yet, the human observer obviously knows better. They acknowledge they just aren't brave enough to let all caution go. It's this wonderful stark contrast between the perceived peacefulness of a literally deadly predator and the instinctual caution a human has to maintain.
Section 2. From Photo to Fine Art. Talk about illustrating a transformation. We're looking at a piece called A Leopard in a Tree, which is a stunning fine art painting by the UK wildlife artist Stephen Gayford. The poem we're exploring is actually all about Gayford taking those close-up reference photographs out in the field, just so he could return to his studio and create this brand new, magnificent painting of the tranquil scene. You can clearly visualize the exact details the poem described perfectly captured in the art: the dangling legs, the resting posture, and of course, that deceptive, peaceful expression.
And wow, Stephen Gayford is an absolute master at capturing these moments. 800. That number highlights the sheer incredible scale of Gayford's work. The poet Denis Martindale had already discovered over 800 paintings by this amazing UK wildlife artist. Over 800. And even after exploring that massive catalog, Martindale stumbled across this latest masterpiece and was so moved he just had to write his newest poem about it. Let's dive into how the poem captures the artist's actual process out in the field. The verses read, "I checked the pictures there and then, and my word, they looked great. For fine art paintings shared again, enough to celebrate." Once the photographer, who is of course the artist, has exactly what he needs for his reference shots, he recognizes the creative victory. He got what he came for. And the poem tells us he simply strolled back to the Jeep once more and left the cat in peace. It's just a beautiful moment of truly respecting nature while simultaneously drawing inspiration from it.
Moving on to Section 3. Celebrating Nature's Grand Pageantry.
Here's where we really hit the poem's core thematic focus. When artists share the happiness God sets forth in plain view, investing in life's majesty, peacocks and butterflies, God's legacy and pageantry before our very eyes. The source material leans really deeply into this idea of a divine legacy. The poem presents the majesty of life, the vibrant pageantry of peacocks, beautiful butterflies, and grand leopards as a gift. And the artist's role in all of this is to translate that majesty into fine art, sharing that happiness and sense of wonder with absolutely everyone who views their work.
Section 4. Miracles Before Our Eyes.
The poem then cleanly catalogs what it calls beauty's best. We're talking about dolphins leaping high out of the water, stallions that look almost blessed, eagles flying majestically by, tall, towering elephants, and, of course, dogs, widely known as man's best friend. The poet is expressing just absolute awe here. The message is super clear. Our planet is literally alive with miracles. There are countless blessings out there.
For sure, more than enough to keep both painters and poets endlessly inspired. And all of that leads us right to the poem's resounding final message. To me, each is a miracle that only God could send. Now, the poem does acknowledge earlier that the world is full of strife, but it counters all that strife with a deep, profound sense of gratitude. The narrator is deeply thankful for life, for having his needs supplied, and most importantly, for the ability to witness these miraculous creatures far and wide.
Well, that brings us to the end of our explainer today. We've traced this incredible journey of inspiration, starting from a peaceful leopard, moving to a photographer's lens, onto an artist's canvas, and finally landing in a poet's profound verses. I really want to leave you with this question to chew on. What everyday miracle of nature inspires you? Whether it's a magnificent leopard resting in a tree or just a simple butterfly hanging out in your garden, there is pageantry everywhere if we just pause for a second to look. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and keep exploring.